Hi guys! So today I wanted to do an intro to the gene keys in human design and look at the activation sequence, which is the sequence in the golden path that we first come to, where we have the placements of the sun and the earth in the moment of birth. That is the data that we use to get the charts, right? So and the part that I want to focus on is the sphere of evolution, because that's really that main challenge in life that is going to be the shadow pattern that we can repeat and repeat, and that shadow pattern is connected to the shadow pattern of the life's work because they're programming partners. So we're gonna see how we can tap into the sphere of evolution, and depending on what line we have there, we can understand what the main challenge is. And then I'm going to do another little webinar on the unconscious sides, the radiance and the purpose. But this is what's going to lead into that. So I'm actually going to share a PowerPoint presentation so that I can really show you on the screen where things are and how to understand them, right? So first of all, you make your charts. It's going to be the same activations because it's from the same data. We are using the same data. So you can make one human design chart and one gene key chart, and then you're going to see that you have the same numbers actually in them. And then we are going to speak, like I said, about the activation sequence and that challenge that when we understand it can lead to our breakthrough. And the activation sequence is also about, understanding our purpose and finding our core stability. And that can only happen after that breakthrough, after we have looked at the challenge and understood it and kind of transcended it. And in the old profile, we had the three frequencies. So that would be the shadow, the gift, and the city. They were different colors. So it was easy to say, look at all the red words, those are your shadows. Look at all the green words, this is this pathway or the gift. And the blue word, that's kind of the the creator frequency, the highest frequency. Now in the new profile, we don't have that. But with the advanced features, you can actually turn off, the shadow or the gift or the city and look at one at a time. So it's clear in another kind of way. When you decide to put all the three frequencies, where you're going to see is that there's one word on the bottom, one in the middle, and one at the top. So the bottom is the shadow, the middle is the gift or the pathway, and then the top is the city. And then you can basically make human design charts and gene key charts on anything. Here I did a chart. I was sharing about the gene keys in a festival this summer that was called No Mind. So I did a chart for the moment that the festival started to kind of see, what is it about. And here you can see the crossover penetration, the powerful activations. If you know a little bit about the gene keys in human design, the 51, the 57, the 53, the 54, and also when you're going to get your chart, and when you make it, you're also going to have, that's the human design way. It's going to show you the type, the strategy, not self themes, the signature. And if you scroll down, you can see how many lines of each you have. So this is very interesting to be able to see how many, in all these 26 activations, how many lines. So that's what's after the little dot. How many lines of each do you have? And the lines can be from 1 to 6. And that is because there are 6 lines in each hexagram. So each of those lines has a personality type. And you can check out the videos that I've done on that too. And we're also doing modules in Unlock Your Design about the lines. I think one is starting now very soon. Let's see. So you get the lines statistics on the bottom, and like I said before, it's calculated from the time, date, and place of birth, and it's going to pinpoint those specific positions of the sun and the planets. So you can see here all these activations are the sun, the earth, and the other planets, and the moon, and the nodes are not, these are positions more than anything. And then it's going to place these in the wheel or the mandala that we call the I Ching wheel. And I'm going to show you that right in a little moment. And here I did exactly the same thing, the same data, and I made the gene key chart, and you can see the same activation 53, 54, 51, 57. So we have on the top the same activations that we have in the green sequence that we're going to speak about today in the gene keys. And here was what I said: you're going to have 26 activations. So there are like 26 markers: the sun and the earth, the moon, the nodes, and the other planets that you're going to have in the moment you were born and 3 months before, because that's how we see, that's how we interpret the moment when the soul incarnates in the body. So basically, you are going to have black activations for your conscious personality that you're kind of here to live out, and then you're going to have red activations for your soul, your unconscious, your body. And you can see here, when you look at everything that we put in, that they're both black and red. And here, for example, somebody born in July is going to be born in Cancer, and that's also going to be the 53rd gene key. And opposite of that, you're going to have the 54, which is part of that incarnation cross. And then you do the same thing 3 months back in time, and you're going to have the 51 and the 57 opposite. And here it says, the patterns in the heavens always have a direct correspondence to emergent life. It is not that one influences the other, but that one is literally entangled with the other at a quantum level. And this is, to grasp that is kind of big. At the same time, it's this thing we said, everything is hologenetic. So a cell in your body is going to work within an organ, the organ is going to work within your body. You are going to be part, of some kind of group or some kind of system, and we're part of this earth, which is part of the Milky Way. So there's always those kind of cellular, the cell that is part of a bigger cell that is part of a bigger cell. That's why we can see that there's that correspondence, or that that's what we use in astrology. So you see that this at the same time is like astrology. It's just that outside the wheel, we are putting the I Ching with the 64 keys, the 64 hexagrams in the oracle. Let's see. So here you can see what I was just saying, that when we look at the sun and the earth that are in opposition, we're going to see that they are in here, for example, in Cancer and in Capricorn. And 3 months before, so 88 degrees back in the wheel, this wheel, of course, with all the 12 signs, is going to be 1 year. So go 3 months back in time, you're going to be in Aries and in Libra. So that is your incarnation cross, and that's what's going to be the green spheres in your gene keys, and that's going to be also at the top, the four gates that you have on the top in human design. So this is what I just said. The incarnation cross in human design is the same thing as the activation sequence. And how we look at it is that you have your role, your life's works. That's the sun in the moment you were born. And then you have the earth in the moment you were born. And here, like I was saying, there's a challenge to unlock. And your whole life can be about the shadow theme of this interplay between the life's work and evolution. So what we want to become aware of is what that challenge is, depending on our key, of course, and our line. Today we're going to focus on the line more than anything. And then as we can start unlocking that, we're going to break through. We're going to tap into the genius of our soul, which comes from the placement of the sun 3 months before we were born, and the earth 3 months before we were born. And that's also the kind of core stability. It's when we become grounded in our body. And that there can be an interplay between the soul and the personality. That's kind of the personality serves the soul, and can add to the soul's, nurture the soul and add to the growth of the soul in this lifetime. So the activation sequence are the 4 green spheres, and they're called life's work, evolution, radiance, and purpose. They are the pillars of your genius, because they encode the living fabric of your destiny. So you can see that either you can live out your destiny from the bottom words, and then it's quite low frequency, or you can live it out from the higher, and then it's from the word on over that in the middle, and then it's more in the gift frequency. And of course, no life is only shadow, only gift. It's really that dance, that you kind of go from contraction to opening up, to contraction, to kind of coming back with a little bit more love, with a bit more acceptance. So that is that beautiful dance. That's why in the Gene Keys we are not saying that the shadow frequency doesn't exist. We are accepting it, embracing it, willingly coming back to it, revisiting it, and allowing it to dissolve again, and coming back into the pathway of the gift and the glimpses of the cities. And really, this is in that frequency band that you have from the shadow to the city, that's really, this the seed for your potential for transformation. When you start to understand and start to observe and start to see these keywords playing out in your life, then you really have opened the door. That is that really the big potential for something to unlock for you. And then when we speak more about the soul side of it, when we do make that breakthrough, we're going to see that it has so much to do with grounding in the physicality, coming into the body, coming into the inner world, finding that inner purpose and this core stability. And the activation sequence is about, reprogram the way that you see yourself and the way that you exist within your body. And from that, you're going to see that you're going to respond differently to life. You're going to actually respond to life and not just react to life like a kind of, puppet that just kind of has to play along. But when you are in there, when you're aligned with yourself, and when you are there, then it's so much more natural to respond to life and to be resilient on the inside. It comes from that core stability that is not the hard stability. It's more about the soft inner strength. And from that inner strength, you can start responding to life. And you understand what that inner strength is by allowing, the comfortable topics, you could say, of your sphere evolution, to really be okay with sitting with them and looking at them. And that is really kind of the first step in how you come much more into your body and the unconscious side of the activation sequence. And then it says the genius is not what you do but who you are. So really, when we look at the activation sequence, we could say that the life's work, that has to do a little bit with what you do, but actually it's really fueled by your soul. So it's fueled on the bottom from the purpose that you're grounded in. It's going to be fueled in your vocation, that it's like in the middle. It's in the middle of your profile that you're going to come to at the end of the golden path. We're actually in the middle, or it's the last key of the Venus sequence and the first key of the Pearl sequence. So it's a very important position, and that is what's going to fuel your life's work and your roles. So you can see it's not only what you do, it's like why you do it, what is fueling you to do it, and what are you grounded in. And then, so here is what I was saying, life's work is about your personality, your role, what you're here to do, how you serve the world. Really, that's the great question, right? If you have done the first step of the activation sequence, which is free on the website, you can, it's like, that's the question, how do I serve the world? And that comes back then when we do the Pearl sequence, the last sequence, and it's that thing that has to do with outer manifestation, prosperity, and abundance. It's like, how do you serve the world? That's how you're going to serve yourself as well. And that's how we evolve. That's how we ascend together. And then the sphere of evolution. This is what I said from the beginning. That's where we can find the biggest challenge. And why is that? Because it's the earth in the moment we were born. So it's really tied to this incarnation. It's the earth, it's the form in this incarnation. So that's why that's why the evolution is so powerful. And in our life, we're going to feel many times like we're coming back to it over and over again. And you can look both at the line themes and the shadow of the actual key to see that theme, and see as well how it connects with the shadow and the line of the life's work. And it's always going to be the same line in the life's work and in the evolution, since they are opposite, like I was showing you in the wheel. They're like exact opposites, so they're going to fall on the same decimal, on the same line. And what I usually say is, like, you come back to that evolution and you're like, oh, I'm here again, it's happening again, and then really what we want to do is to thread with a little bit more love and openness, like every time we come back, and to really, it's that kind of spiral dynamics that every time we thread, there is like a bigger spiral because it's more openness, it's more love, it's more expansion. So that's how we want to look at that evolution. And in that, you know, without any effort, actually, when we are allowing that to happen, we are gonna like at one point break through and start to really tap into the radiance and the core stability and grounding in our purpose. So first of all, yeah, this is a kind of repetition, or this has to do with the lines and the role of the life's work. So we said that line 1, I'm not going to go into that. I've done a video on this before with the lines. So line 1 is the creator, creative, the investigator, creator, that really kind of investigates for its own sake. The second line is the dancer. It decides who to dance with. It doesn't want to dance with everybody. It's about effortlessness. It's about ease and naturalness and passion. The third line is the changer. It's about playing with energy and experiences. It's a martyr in human design. So it kind of falls down the stairs, but it gets up again, and it's robust. The fourth line connects with the heart. It's the opportunities in human design. So it creates a network, and everything comes through that network of friends, of relationships with trust, of connecting with the heart, of speaking from the heart and being also kind of convincing. The fifth line is the fixer. So we are in the mental realm. So 1 and 2 are the physical, 3 and 4 are the emotional, 5 and 6 is the mental. So the fifth line has, you know, a mental ability to see universal solutions, and we call it sometimes the savior, because it saves the other lines, because it can see that it has the big overview, and it's the fifth line also speaks it out, you know. So it's the throat chakra, and it's really coming with those universal solutions. And then we have the sixth line, that is, you know, the visionary or the teacher that can see the big perspective. That isn't about, the fifth line is a lot about, you know, my truth, the way I see it. It's the heretic in human design. It makes its own laws. But the sixth line is much more objective. It's a visionary. It's up on the roof. It sees to what's coming. And it's a role model in that sense, because it wants to already live and walk as what's coming. So that's like really just fast thing through it. But this helps you, because depending on, you know, what the role or the keyword is in the life's work, that is going to make you, of course, understand the evolution much more, since you have the same line in your life's work and in your evolution. So it's good to have these, to know a little bit about what that role is, and these simple keywords from the Gene Keys like really help us to tap into that. And also kind of, you know, the security, image, pleasure, feeling, solutions, education, also kind of in what realm those roles play. So here, so this is all the lines for the sphere evolution. So here you would see that you have a number, you have a dot, and you have another number. And that last number is going to be from 1 to 6. And that's going to be the same number you have after the dot in your life's work. And here, it's really, 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 I would say that this is probably the point that is the most important in your whole profile. Because here you can change your whole spiral from either being a negative spiral downwards or being a spiral that starts to spiral upwards in expansion. So here for example, you know, I can read them through. So for the first line is breaking out of self-centered philosophy through service to others. So you can see that the first line is kind of in the basement, investigating. It's about its own thing. It's sometimes a bit like kind of repression. It sometimes has a hard time speaking about their feelings or their anxieties, and they really need to. It's not only self-centered in the way that is selfish, but and it's not only service to others, but it's actually including others in your life, because life alone as a human being, it's not really alive, and that can really keep you isolated. So it is through the service to the whole, the service to others, the service to relationship that you're going to start to break through. And you can see by looking at your gene key what what the risk of, what the shadow that you could fall into is if you stay in this kind of self-isolation somehow. And we could take examples, but I think I'm just going to go through it a bit quicker. And the second line, it's all about relationships and passion. So of course, it's going to be possibly, it also has that thing sometimes of denying its own thing in relationships. So it's really that there is a risk for disappointment, and really the challenge for the second line are relationships. And it's so important to fulfill yourself first, find that ease, that dance, that naturalness in yourself, and then your relationships can mirror that. And even when you're like that in yourself, when you're in your inner stability, you can even allow yourself to see some of the things that are going to be mirrored back to you, and learn more about yourself through that. The third line, it's a martyr, we say, and it's often shamed for being inconsistent, for being dynamic, for not being like everybody else. And it's the changer. So it's supposed to be like that. So it's so important for the third line evolution to not seek attention or approval and trying to make other people happy, and maybe have to become, I don't know, like maybe have to become something in order, like have a job or something that let you do the things that you love. But actually it's much more about accepting yourself as you are, kind of that choicelessness, and do the things that you love without really having an agenda. So consistency is not a key. It's not something that you should look at, something that you want to have in your life. You actually want to see dynamism in your life, and playfulness, and to be okay with that, and that's really how you can start breaking out of the shadows of that sphere of evolution, whatever gene key you have that there. And then the fourth line, we said, it's about the heart, the server. It's how, doing what you love, and serving others through doing what you love. And what happens with the fourth line is that in the challenge, there can be, a closing of the heart and numbness, because maybe there's been broken trust in relationships, or maybe there is something that makes you close that heart, and then what comes is anxiety, and it can feel suddenly like a super big problem. And actually for the fourth line, it's always just coming back to the heart and opening again, and being able to have that open heart even if there are challenges in relationships, because love is bigger and stronger than anything else. And I am a fourth line, so for me it's a constant and conscious pathway of coming back all the time, even when it's scary. Come back to the heart. And the fifth line has that projection field around it, because it's about power and impact. So people are going to project things. And that means that it can easily be misunderstandings or conflict even. And the fifth line, since it's so strong somehow, it can sometimes kind of use power, and that's going to make it worse. And it's going to create guilt and all these kinds of things. So what the fifth line wants to do is to use vulnerability, and see that vulnerability, the soft strength, it's going to start to break up those patterns, those shadow patterns. And then the sixth line is the visionary. So the worst thing that can happen for a sixth line is really having to feel that your vision is impossible. Like that's going to kill your soul. So and what can happen with the sixth line is that you look at everything that's happening in the world, and you think like, the vision I have is not going to happen in my lifetime, so I better just kind of accept that and compromise. And that can keep a sixth line in that shadow loop forever. So for a sixth line, it's really to surround yourself with people that are nurturing that dream, and that stop compromising, because that it's possible. You are the future, so it's, of course we can evolve, and to tap into that knowing. It's not just a believe, it's a knowing, and to nurture that knowing. So these are really, and there's so many ways to play with it. Like this was just a very fast way through. There is so many. We can ground it in the body. We can ground it, in the energy centers, the chakras. We can look at it. And we can look at it in the human design, like the house analogy, like I was saying, somebody's in the roof, somebody's in the stairs falling down. Like we can use that. We can use, like we were saying, the roles of the gene keys, the dancer and the changer and the server, etc. and to look at these lines and to understand how they play out in your life, you know. I think I have one more slide. So you can really see this is a breakdown of the activation sequence. So you can see really what we spoke about now. It was the life's work, and it was the evolution and that challenge. And when we start to unlock that challenge in the evolution, that's going to lead to breakthrough. And it's not only a breakthrough that goes, you know, from one side to another. It's really what I was saying in the beginning, that interplay between the radiance and the evolution, that we're always going to have access to both of them. And that veil that could have seemed to be, okay, this is my role, and, you know, my soul, they're not really seeing each other, that is suddenly, you know, that's suddenly not there anymore. And the being, the hidden gift, so like what we're saying here, the doing and the being, and even, you know, even in a way more direct than that, is that we can actually say that the visible gifts are in the doing, that's in our role, in how we serve the world, and the hidden gifts are in our being, in our aura, in what like comes out from in our aura, from our body, from how we are grounded. And here you can also, I like to just, these are the pathways: challenge, breakthrough, core stability. So that are the three pathways that we have in the activation sequence. And next time I want to speak about the radiance and the purpose, and connect them back, of course, to the life's work in the evolution, because it's always this interplay between doing and being, between, you know, soul and personality, because between conscious and unconscious. So let me stop this. Yeah, so I hope that this was useful, and I'm looking forward to questions and interaction, and, you know, and if there also, for people who want to go deeper and look at your specific activations, you could also do a session with me only on the activation sequence, for example, and go really deep, or, you know, also see how that connects, like I said before, to the core wound, or the vocation, the fuels, like to kind of look at the dynamics, because the dynamics that you're going to see in your evolution, it's usually a dynamic that comes back, you know, maybe in your EQ, you know, that's the kind of emotional trigger and challenge, or in the culture, in the pearl sequence, there's also the kind of, you know, what kind of could block your prosperity. So you're going to often see that there are dynamic, there are patterns that this sphere evolution are going to influence or interplay with in the Venus sequence and the pearl sequence. So this is something that, you know, that we can discern together as well. So yeah, I hope that this was clear, and yeah, I'll be back with the radiance and the purpose. Bye.